What's up, world? Well, sometimes I get a little like I don't know. I get hopeful and then I get like not hopeful at the same time about how stuff is working out. This is one of those hopeful shows where hopefully we're going to be, impacting how things happen positively, but at the same time I want to like measure my optimism, like very much so. But tonight's show, we're going to talk about a process, and it's not super complicated. That's going to be the that's going to be to me the coolest part of this. This is like a very straightforward using tools that you are probably already familiar with to do very dynamic things. We're going to talk about streaming. We're going to define streaming. We're going to talk about streaming as an equitable experience for all the learners that are involved. We got people doing hybrid stuff. We got people doing still virtual stuff. We got people going to be sick, even though they're just doing in-person school. There's a lot of stuff that's happening right now. And well, we got to talk about the future of what education looks like. You are not going to replace all these teachers. It's not something that's going to happen. It will not happen. So how do you also mitigate the fact that you're going to be looking at a dramatically different workforce starting August 2022? How do you mitigate the fact that you're not going to have enough physical bodies for all of the students that you are being tasked to teach? So yeah, it's going to be interesting. I think we have an idea. We got some ideas that we're going to talk about tonight, and then, like as always, we invite people to pull those and tear those ideas apart. But I think they're pretty solid, don't you think, Webbs?
I mean, yes, but I obviously am biased because there are ideas.
Oh, and this is true.
That said, I do want to add on to that our school district has seen record numbers of people leaving. Someone just recently posted a line graph of like this school year compared to the previous like 5, and it's just straight like it's like the opposite of that little yodeler person on The Price is Right. Instead of going up the mountain's just going down. And yes, I myself had a recent brush with COVID, so people are going to keep being sick and keep being out, and rushing people to come back isn't going to solve the problem. It's just going to make it worse.
But also, I think thinking beyond that and just saying, in a in a world in which COVID doesn't exist, why utilizing the technology and the automation tools that we have at our fingertips creates a less stressful environment, allows people to be optimal in their jobs, and allows people to have a higher satisfaction in terms of I'm doing work that I see valuable that also allows me to have a life.
Sure. Also, it's a matter of accessibility. Like there are a lot of people with. I was just there has been a lot of conversation around how TikTok pays creators. And one of the creators I follow, Hank Green, just had a really great video about comparing talking about the whole history um, of creators on the internet, how funding happens through YouTube, how funding happens through TikTok, why they're different, what the challenges are with TikTok. And what that all came around and got me to thinking was, one, that there are a lot of teachers who have said YouTube isn't a job, YouTube isn't a job, when in fact it is. Not only that, but creating videos for the internet is a job that is very appealing, particularly to folks who have chronic illness, because it allows you the flexibility to do your job from home, to do it when you can do it. And if you have bad days, that it accommodates for that, unlike most traditional jobs.
Big facts. I mean, we're talking about there's a healthcare crisis. I mean, healthcare and a childcare crisis, right? A scenario
Oh
in
yeah,
which,
COVID's going to be a mass disabling event for people around the globe.
well, and also if you're talking about equity, and we saw this despite the fact that I'm not really a huge fan of what's the doggone thing, the dude that was writing on the whiteboard on YouTube. Now he has the Empire. The what's the guy's name? He
Sal
was,
Khan?
huh? Khan Academy, yes,
Cell Khan?
yeah.
Khan Academy, yeah.
Not super Khan Academy, big Khan Academy fan, but the concept is solid, right? All right. I am giving people access to things they would not be given in real life due to the fact that you might be in a repressive regime. I might have a teacher that doesn't have the skills necessary to teach me those skills. I might be in an area in which I can't come to school physically on a regular basis. The fact that we're not exploiting these these ways of transmitting knowledge and receiving knowledge and having conversations, that it's taken COVID for us to even have these conversations in mass. And even then, there are people who are pushing back against the machine, saying, "No, I wanted to go back to the way it was." It's like mind blowing, Webs. It's mind
And
blowing.
the way that it was not equitable either.
Big
Like,
facts,
it
which
may
we're
have been
also
equitable for you, but there's a lot of people it was not equitable for.
big facts, big facts. So let's talk a little bit about that. All right. So letter to editor this week. You are a remote worker. You've been a remote worker for some time, pre-COVID remote worker. Again, how is it that in a job in which you do not physically sit with any of your coworkers, that you make that how what structures and protocols are in place to attempt to make the way that you do work as equitable as possible, and perhaps how can those things be applied to how we do work in schools?
Sure. Let's see. Well, fortunately, I happen to work with some folks who are really big on accessibility and champion for making things accessible by default. So that's part of it. But there, like a typical day is like I look at my calendar the night before just to see when it is I need to sign in or when my first meeting is. That kind of determines when my day is going to start. I usually start it around the same time most days. But if I am having a bad day and not feeling well or whatever, I may give myself an extra hour or two to like get up and get moving. Um, Usually everything is scheduled on our calendar.
Mm.
The primary people I work with, we use Google. So if we have a meeting, it gets put on the Google calendar. Everyone's invited. If there's any sort of materials that we need, like if there's a Miro board attached or something, that's usually in the notes. We typically use Zoom because it is the most reliable. It does the best when it comes to sound and video, in terms of both quality and um like capacity. So typically our meetings are on Zoom, although sometimes we've been experimenting with Jitsi a little bit lately. And Jitsi has some interesting tools as well and features, and it's web based. So for some folks, it's a bit more accessible because you don't have to worry about downloading it. You're not limited. Like if you don't pay for a Zoom account, you're limited to a 40-minute meeting. So there's that. We use collaboration tools like Miro, so that folks can generally see. I'm not sure how that is with keyboard navigation, but we try to find like common space for us to be able to share resources. We use Slack a lot. We use email a little bit, but mostly Slack. Like we do a lot of Slack back and forth. I know last week we talked about affective association, and then I'm working on a blog post about community cohesion. We have I have Slacks for all the companies that I work with,
So I have a question before you
and
go deeper. Question,
yeah,
because you're mentioning a
hmm
lot of different processes and stuff. More to the point, say someone misses a meeting. I can't be there
okay,
for whatever reason, you know.
hmm
How is it that that person still has access to what happened at the meeting, whatever decisions were made at the meeting? Does that person still have the ability to weigh in on the decisions of the meeting, even though they weren't there? Like, how do you work with that kind of process where I physically not, I miss your meeting? How am I still a part of your team?
yeah, that's a very specific process. So typically, if we have a meeting, most of the time we record it. So it's recorded, it's saved to a drive, it's saved to the same place every time if it's like a recurring meeting. Usually someone takes notes. Those notes go into a Google Drive document where again it's a pretty like standard procedure. So yeah, meeting gets recorded, notes go in. So even if you're not there, you can always watch the playback. And then depending on what type of meeting it is, sometimes we'll do important points or play by plays or the highlights of it in Slack as well. So usually we'll post like, hey, here's the meeting recording, here's the notes, here are the highlights in chat. So it's really easy to catch up if you
In
miss
terms
something. Or like I said, you can go watch the whole thing if you want to.
in terms of democracy inside of those meetings, right? Is there a so say say I'm not running the meeting, but you have a question comes up that I feel that I can answer, or I have a suggestion for how that could be that process could be improved or made more efficient. Do I have the right to speak up in your meetings generally, or is it still this like top down? You know, the person who's so speak on that a little bit.
No, everybody says their thing. I mean, we do have the general practice where if we're in a Zoom meeting, we raise our hand when we want to say something, just so that we're not talking over each other. And that way it kind of levels things out too, so that people who need a bit more think time or who need a bit more processing time, like they have that without being cut off or interrupted. It really helps the flow to know like who needs to speak next. And I find too, like it helps. I think it creates this environment of mutual respect, that we are respectful of someone finishing their point before moving on to the next thing. We'll often like if we're going too far away from the point, defer to someone else, like, hey, I'm going to go way far away from this point, so if someone else wants to jump in, go ahead. But no, it's very like everyone is free to share whatever their thoughts are on a specific topic, obviously respectfully, but like there isn't a, oh, you have to go to your, I don't technically have a boss, like I'm my own boss. So no, we are the primary group that I work with, we are essentially pirates. Like we are all on even playing field. We all speak up when we want to speak up, and everybody kind of respects that, like you're going to get feedback from people. And
Do you
yeah,
have a pirate's code? Like, is there like you like
yes,
sing like
there are several pirate themed documents that we all share.
indeed. Um, so that's kind of where we're going today. Is there's a meeting. We all can't be at the meeting. How is it that everyone has equitable access to, despite me not being there physically, being able to converse with other individuals, to leave my thoughts and feedback, to still learn in realish time about how things work? Because unfortunately, we have not physically been in the same space for 3 years, 2.5 years, something crazy like that.
Yeah, I haven't seen you in person in easily 2 years
Yeah.
in
So
March, if
it's
not longer. I
yeah,
don't remember the last time I saw
I
you.
can't. Yeah, I couldn't tell you. So fundamentally, the interesting thing is we're still able to plan. We're still able to what the communicate. There's been no like lapse in communication, et cetera, et cetera. And it really has influenced the way that I've looked at the future of school. In that, in order to make this thing more equitable, right, it has to be more amorphous. You cannot have strict strict of a definition of what schooling means going in the future if you're going to at the same time say this is an equitable experience for all those who are being asked to deal with the situation. I really don't think that that's not a possibility anymore. And I was at the beginning of the pandemic, one of the things that was said was the impact of the virtual learning on vulnerable populations, right? That it wasn't, it was, our students who are special ed students, our students of color, et cetera, that this was just a bad thing for them. It wasn't allowing them to, to achieve, et cetera, et cetera. And my constant pushback to that was, first of all, that wasn't virtual learning, right? That wasn't a situation in which that was done correctly.
That was
It
emergency learning.
One, right? Also, that was more of a function of childcare, right? It wasn't a schooling issue; it was a childcare issue. That school was used in poor communities, communities of color, and people who have special ed students for childcare. Also, right? This physical moving of my child to another place so that I can go and do other things, and that impacted those communities far more than it impacted individuals who had remote work jobs already, or could telecommute to their jobs, or had internet that was fast enough that they could do multiple things in their home at the same time, right? So we singled out education as this silo of, look, this is the problem, when that to me wasn't ever the problem in terms of this classic thing. In addition, historically, those communities have been exploited by education anyway, right? In-person learning, like the virtual learning only did what the in-person learning was doing as well, right? And it's very interesting how we wanted to go back to this, I mean, totally inequitable institution where certainly one person is tasked with trying to keep 35, 40 people engaged at one time, which from experience, Webbs, how easy is that?
Well, that's the thing that I've always kind of found funny about education is like people seem to think that like uh teaching is a given. It is like it's not a ridiculous ask to have one adult be in front of 25 kids and not only keep them entertained but also try and impart knowledge on them, when you would never say, hey, can you watch my kids and the kids down the street and those kids. You would never, outside of the classroom, put one adult in charge of 25 children and not think anything of it. But in school we do it all the time, and and it's just like a given that just teachers do magic and whatever. But
It's
if
Muppet
somebody asks
babies.
you, hey, can you babysit my 25 kids, they'd be like, what? Not only that, but the cost to babysit 25 kids, even at like $8 an hour. Whoa.
What the cost in space, insanity? Like, we're not even talking about like money. Your sanity would eventually erode if you were constantly in the presence of 25 people who had their own ideas about what they wanted to do. Um, they had their own group of
Want your
friends.
attention.
You know, this is it's madness. But at the same time, the warehousing of students in classrooms is traditionally how it's been done. So we don't see anything wrong with it because this is what we've always done, rather than saying, I am a big proponent. Kindergarten students, yes, you probably have to have them physically in a space so that you can kind of, the fundamentals of reading and mathematics and things like that. Absolutely. All right. First graders, probably as well. Once you get to second, third grade, you kind of got the at least the rudiments of what's necessary to be to with your reading and your writing and your mathematics to be able to do things a little bit more independently. And I've seen some amazing kindergarten teachers, some amazing first grade teachers that have those students be able to be independent, 3 or 4 months into a school year. So there are those teachers that exist. But one of the reasons why I really was excited to do this show was the pushing what should be the normative now in classrooms, right? One of the skills that working with teachers over the pandemic that I really thought was a high yield strategy was the recording of screens, right? That screen recording. Here's me, even if it's just me sitting on Flipgrid having the conversation with you about whatever the devil we're going to talk about. Even the Flipgrid situation allowed your face to be seen, allowed students to be able to respond to you if necessary, and also had a situation where the screen record talent isn't so it's not an uncomfortable skill to learn, right? It's press the button, you got a little script or something, or you can riff off your head. You know what you need to do. Um, in your job, Webs, do you screen record at all? Is there like even that screenshotting things? Like, is there value in learning how to do those things? In if there is value, where is that value in your job?
Yeah, I mean, we screenshot all the time, just trying to get across, hey, this is what I'm seeing. We do a lot of screen sharing and walkthroughs over Zoom, but in the event that it's like not feasible, then a screen recording will do the job. I know for me personally, like I do a lot of like helping other people figure out their tech, and it's really helpful to know how to screen record on my various devices so that I can just send them a video like, hey, this is how you do it. This is what you should be looking at. So I think it's just generally a good skill, especially as I was thinking about this today because my mom was having trouble with something and it got me thinking about workflows that exist and like in today. So for example, like if you use a password manager, one of the things that's changed recently is websites are changing how they label like their username and password fields, or they're preventing people from pasting into password fields, which is a terrible user experience. But if I think about a user like my mom who knows how to use your password manager but doesn't know how it works under the hood, so when she gets to a website and it just doesn't work for one reason or another, it just becomes an exercise in frustration. But if she can contact me and has some basic skill in how to, screenshot what she's looking at or do a quick screen recording of what she's looking at, then I can at least help her out. So I feel like that's a pretty basic tech literacy skill that most people should have to be able to either well, and you should be able to screenshot and you should be able to do a quick screen recording of some kind.
And I think that's something that students should have the ability to do as well, right? Um, One of the greatest things, or the things that I was most pleased with during COVID or during the pandemic last year, was that was something that every student that had my course was expected to be able to do in their Chromebook. Hey, you need to be able to screen record and I don't want you to explain to me what the problem is. I want you to show me what the problem is so that I can go and say, okay, cool. On the top, see that in the top right hand corner there, that little logo that looks like XYZ? Oh, yeah, I see it. But that's where you need to go. That is where the mistake happened. It's like showing your work in your math problem, right? If you just give me the answer, I don't know how you got there, and I can't tell you what the computational error that you made that perhaps changed the outcome of the problem was. And so, again, to me, screen recording is like showing your work. It's necessary, even if you know how to do the answer. Being able to demonstrate to someone else, this is how you go from this step to this step. This is how I did it. That is super powerful. And how many YouTube videos and channels are there that are just that? Hey, this is how you do this. Step one, step two, step three, step four. Here's my recording process. God bless you.
I mean, the top video on our YouTube channel is how to paraphrase using Microsoft Word from like 6 years ago.
So I mean, the instructional value of being able to record your screen and walk someone through it is it is a 21st century skill that needs to be embraced by everybody in education. Period. All right. There's
Agreed.
there's a power in video, and we're going to kind of like that is what this entire show is going to be about today. So let's before we get into the demonstration, the word streaming. Let's define streaming. It is not doing what we're doing right now solely. This is live streaming right now, right? This is in real time. We are live streaming. And when we say the word streaming, generally people start thinking about this. I'm live streaming through Facebook and Twitter and whatever. That's not what streaming is. Netflix is a streaming service. Are all the shows on Netflix live? No, they are not. Right? There are shows I can watch whenever I want to watch, however I want to watch. I can stop in the middle, etc., etc. Hulu, streaming service. Disney Plus, streaming service. Those shows are not live shows. They are pre-recorded shows that are uploaded into your Google Plus, your Hulu, or whatever it is, and then you can play them on demand, right? So the concept of streaming simply means those things exist in a spot in which I can have access to them when I would like. Anything to add, Webbs?
Yeah. So when we first started talking about this, that was my hang up as well. Was like the idea that in my head I too had associated streaming with live streaming and not thinking about streaming in the same way that like oldie timey TV channels would just show you a show at 7 p.m. and then, I can watch it on Hulu the next day. That's not live streaming. That's just, hey, I want to watch it on demand and it's available for me on playback. Like at one point it was semi like live streaming, although shows are pre-recorded and edited and whatever, so it's not really live streaming so much, but like I don't know. But that was one of my hangups when we first started talking about this topic too, was that I kept thinking live streaming and it's not. Like it just means, hey, I'm going to send this out and you can't see it before this date, but after this date you can see it whenever you want to.
And the concept of live, right? Live is a construct of reality, right? So,
We're going to get super theoretical with it,
yeah, I
huh?
mean, live, what does
We're
that
all in
mean?
a simulation, man.
Yeah, I mean, what does live mean? It just means I'm going to say it's live at 8 o'clock. It could be pre recorded and it just plays at 8 o'clock. It's live, right? You couldn't see it before 8 o'clock. It's a live situation. If I'm a big Martin fan, right? And you'll see recorded live in front of a studio audience. Well, I'm not watching it live. This show is like 25 years old. So the concept of live just means this is new to you. You have not seen this before. The concept of live just means I am playing it at a particular time. So we get when we start to deconstruct definitions, we start to say we are now free to go and play with those definitions in any way that we would like. Because again, the concept of this show is being recorded live right now on January 30th, but somebody can watch it 2 years from now and be like, okay, cool. They're talking about live TV. This is the first time I watched it, but it's live to me right now, right? It's happening in real
Mhm.
time. So let's not get like super pared down with definitions because that will like obfuscate the actual goal here. Go ahead, Webs.
I liked what you said about streaming is playing it at a particular time. So I think that should be our working definition. Streaming is playing a video at a particular time and
And
then
so
making it available for anyone to watch it when they want after that particular time.
and we're going to throw a new
Like this.
curve in there.
Okay.
So, edu streaming. Now, this is something that I'm going to throw into the universe because I think it is the wave of the future. Edu streaming is making something available to your students that no matter when or where that student is, they have a similar, if not equitable, experience as those who experienced it in a physical space. So, before COVID happened, and as we are both veterans of the Clark County School District,
This is true.
we had a huge issue with physical attendance in schools and students, due to a variety of factors, having to change schools all over the city, right? This was pre COVID. This was not a function of the pandemic. This was a pre COVID scenario. At no point did we talk about how do you keep a kid who has missed 70 days of school in the school year? How do you make sure that that student, when that student shows up that 1 day a week, how do you catch them up for the other 4 days they missed? There's no physical way for a teacher to say, let's pause this class and I'm going to catch Raymond up. Because first of all, you don't remember what you did on Monday. Raymond wasn't there to hear all the conversation all his classmates or their classmates were having. There are experiences that cannot be duplicated in retrospect, right? There's, you and I have a conversation about something, and then 3 weeks from now, some other person says, hey, Mike, what you and Webbs talk about on January 30th, I don't remember that crap, dude. It was, a lot of things have happened in life between February 25th and, January 30th, right? We also have a scenario in which you did not have enough staff pre-COVID, right? We should have students that had long-term subs, people who didn't have the bona fides to teach certain subjects who were in the classrooms because they had to be. If I'm somebody who is someone who's potentially going to be a software engineer, that's what's my goal, and I'm sitting in a high school class that's being taught by a long-term sub, and a kid across the city is being taught by someone who used to be a software developer who's teaching it. How is that an equitable experience? How am I receiving the same thing that this other kid is seeing, despite the fact, excuse me, that we're having the same course? That's not fair.
even
It's an,
just skill even just skill sets in your average like grade level, especially K-5 teacher. So if I'm really great at teaching math and the teacher next door is really great at ELA, and we respectively suck at those opposite topics, why is it that my kids create a great math experience but a poor ELA experience, and the teacher next to me, their kids get a great ELA experience but a poor math experience? When if we just streamed our classes, both classes could get really great math experiences and really great ELA experiences, and it would be less work for us as teachers.
because we still have this constant refrain that to be a professional, you have to do all the things. Rather than saying the smarter deal is how do I Voltron the solution, right? Generally in our schools, especially because we're a large school district, there are multiple teachers per grade. There are multiple teachers per content, right? Why are you independently doing the work? That doesn't make sense.
So this is a topic that I've started to look into a little bit, and I just started this, so I'm not totally. I will follow up if I get this wrong. There is a concept, we've heard of metacognition, right? That's thinking about your thinking, but there's a term called macrocognition. And that's where it's the like decisions and uh thoughts and considerations that a person or a group of people have to make, taking into account the knowledge of all the other people and situations around them. So, if you are a group of teachers, you don't have to know every single thing. You just have to have the macro cognition to know who knows the thing that you don't know, so that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts. And for too long, I think teachers have been functioning on that idea that I just have to do everything. I'm responsible for everything. I have to do everything. And like my team would never function if we each try to do all the things. It just wouldn't. Like we wouldn't be able to function. We
We
are a perfectly good example where the whole is much greater than the sum of its parts. Like we discover things working together and produce things working together that we. Oh, it's dinner time. He's very upset.
oh indeed.
Um but yeah, we produce things that we would never be able to do had we done it on our own. I'm sorry, you have to wait 30 minutes.
Well, Voltron. That's why I use the Voltron example. Just I'm again, the lions individually cannot take down the monsters. They try, and
Mm-mm.
they try and do what. Only when they form Voltron does can do they have the combined might to take down the monster. And people, the really interesting thing about that is, I think in America we see that as a weakness. Like you couldn't do it. You rather than saying as the phalanx, we can do what we need to get the. As much as people talk about Rome as this great Rome, when you looked at how they set up, and shout out to Mr. Vogley, my high school history teacher, the Tortuga formation, the concept of the phalanx, they weren't they weren't so dependent on one person's talent. It was what can the group do in order to say we are going to have people who are physically strong, people who are fast, people that how do we combine all those things to ramp up and run over these other individuals rather than saying we're going to send one person out?
One of the things we talk about a lot in my field is resilience, and the idea that a team should have the resilience so that if one person is out, the team can still continue to function. Not only because that allows like things to continue to move forward, but it takes a lot of stress off of the members of the team. Because if I'm someone who I am a linchpin person where our team cannot move forward without me, that's a tremendous amount of stress on me. I'm going to feel like I can never take vacations. I always have to be near my phone. I always have to be able to answer questions. So, building resilience in your team, and if there are any admin out there watching this, I like highly recommend ensuring that every department and grade level in your school has that level of resilience, works together as a team so that if one person is out, your that team can continue to function so that they're not all carrying the weight of the world.
Bada bing. So let's get to it. Now, again, people talk about streaming. Excuse me. What we're going to demonstrate, if you're an administrator, if you're a team on a grade level, this is going to save your ability to have a prep. One of the things that was the most frustrating when I was my last year at, actually, I'm not even gonna lie. Before that, so being a specialist for the last quarter of my career, I was always called in if there was a sub needed and the sub didn't show up to come and cover a class. And oftentimes I would go in that class having no idea what the expectation was, what kids were working on, any of those things like that. And it would devolve into, you know what, kids, I don't know what's going on here. Let's do a lesson that I'm comfortable with. So let's do this or that or something else, right? Looking forward with the absolute truth, Webs, that there will not be enough bodies in August to have one licensed teacher per classroom. That is going to be an absolute truth. And if we do not go and start to prepare for that absolute truth, you're going to be caught, unprepared again. Second of all, if someone goes, say I go on vacation, what we're going to demonstrate is that person can still teach their class in real time. Pre-record lessons, shoot them at particular times, we're good. Parent person, if my student is absent, home with COVID, etc., what I don't want is the very, very difficult experience of this is what is currently happening at schools. That kid is on a Google Meet by themselves with the computer pointed toward the whiteboard, right? That student now has one particular view of how the inner workings of that physical space work. As is human nature, they're forgotten about, right? It becomes a situation of stress for the instructor because now I'm trying to play it, two different audiences. If that student has a problem or something and interjects, now what do? Do you stop dealing with the kids that are in front of you or whatever? This is going to help to unify the audience into one audience so that you're not going back and forth. The kid does not have to. Google Meets suck. I'm just going to put it out there. It's not a very pleasant experience for your boy. So how do we use YouTube, which is a far more powerful and also Webs? It is a platform that your students are already familiar with. They go there all of the time. It's their TV. So you're not going to be looking at something like, oh my goodness, they're not familiar with YouTube. Every kid, I don't care who they are, what language they speak, whatever, YouTube is the thing. So let's get to it. Shout outs to Bozen. She's allowing me to use her Canvas shell because for CCSD teachers, I want to show you that this is possible given all of the processes and protocols that you have. So I didn't want to do this in the free version because I didn't want anything to be different. So here we go. Here's this a blank course that I built, but still with all the CCSD goodies inside there. And if discussions Webs is the most powerful part of Canvas, in my opinion, because it's the best archival tool that is available inside of the learning management system. And why do I want archival tools? Webs, you started to talk about all the processes at the beginning of the show, all the processes and things you have as a remote worker, places people can check back to, et cetera, et cetera. Why is archiving things such an important thing?
Because you can go back and look at it, whether it's for reference later about what did I say in this conversation or that conversation. For people who weren't there at the time, they can replay that conversation in real time. um, there's a ton of reasons why having that archival information is really helpful.
Also, accuracy, right? I want to
Mhm.
accurately quote
Clarification.
Webbs. Yeah. I don't want to have a situation
Mhm.
where you and I have this conversation. You know what? Da 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 da. No, let's go back and actually watch the video. What did she actually say? She said this is that. Cool. This is the accurate representation of the protocol that we need to use in order to do this project, rather than there's a reason why hearsay evidence is not allowed at trial. I don't want your interpretation of no. She said no. We don't want to hearsay. I want the actual words from the actual person, right? Now, in terms of this, we're going to keep this really, really linear. Discussions is where you want to go. The modules and things are really, really cool, wonderful. I use the following organizing deal for my Canvas courses webs. Modules will begin with M because they're me. They allow me to go at whatever pace I would like to do. I want to set up lessons inside there that are going to respect the individual pace of the learner. They're me. Your discussions are dialogue, right? I want everyone to be able to converse. I want you to go back and forth. I want there to be a situation where that's where we build the community. That's where we're building the connections with people. This is where there's an authentic learning experience in that it's a social situation. But I don't want to bury all the discussions in modules, because then if a kid isn't at a certain module, they don't get the benefit of the discussion. So I like to keep my discussions separate. I just think it's better that way. Other people may have different, they might disagree with that, but whatever. So I'm gonna hit this discussion button here, and this is just a discussion outside of modules, not built to a module. And we've got our first dope situation is out right now. It could be, we got to shout out that at the very end of the show webs, in terms of you can download this from our Cartloom, our shop. But it kind of goes into 5 little techniques you can play around with discussions. Excuse me. But the beauty of the stream is efficiency and accuracy. All right. I can tell a parent my math class starts at 8:30, and I can set my stream up so it begins at 8:30. I don't have to remember to start math class then. 8:30, look at the clock, the stream starts. All right. So I'm going to say this is going to be, I'm going to use some screen captures. So screen casting with your Chromebook. That's going to be today's lesson. So oftentimes I use the discussions as I was noticing that there are particular pieces of information that students either didn't get or skills they didn't have or whatever. I'm going to put those out in discussion so that kids can get those. So it's kind of like a how-to, a tutorial, a list of tutorials. That's another way that you could use this. So in today's stream, we'll discuss how to come on. Uh-oh. All right, so had a little issue with that. Yep, auto say. We'll discuss how to screen record on your Chromebook. Use the conversation below to leave any suggestions, ideas, or comments. All right, cool. So there is no stream right there, Webs. It's just some instructions and directions for them. So how do we get the stream inside there? So again, this is a real CCSD teacher's hustle. All right. This is not Webs and I's thing that have some different superpowers or whatever. This is just CCSD teachers. Again, shout out to Boza. So great. I'm going to go up here to that create button. And when I hit that create button up in the top right hand corner, so you'll see your little your icon or the first letter of your first name or whatever there, that create button. And you're gonna see where it says go live. We're gonna go live, but we're not gonna go live. Again, the concept of live is a construct of reality. So I'm gonna hit that go live button. So I'm gonna click there. And do you see where it says right now or later date? So initially it tells you straight up, hey, I don't have to have this thing, built right. Right? So I'm that later date, hit the
I'd
start
be
button.
curious. I'd be
Right.
curious how many folks were afraid to click on the go live because they thought it would just immediately make them go live.
Oh, okay, cool. So that's
So
also
you may
true.
be sharing some very valuable information for folks.
All right. So this is more of the let's stream some stuff, right? So if
Like
you
we are
were a
doing right
teacher,
now.
yes, if you were a teacher who was not physically in your classroom, you were sick, you were on vacation, whatever, and still wanted to teach your class, you could use your webcam with no other software. You don't need to buy. You could just say, I'm going to sit in front of my computer and I'm going to stream right on through, sitting in my classroom and rock and roll. All right. So you can definitely do that. So if you would hit the go button, bada bing, I'm not going to allow it. I'm going to block it for right now. But you can set the details and all that stuff. So if you want to do what we're doing right now, you can do that. We're not going to do that. All right. So again, the streaming in classic streaming is what we're doing right now. We're not going to do that. So I'm going to click that. I'm going to go back there. Actually, don't want that to be seen. Hold on. Go to channel. Cool. Shout out to Bozen again. Not now. So I'm going to hit that plus sign up here. So I'm going to go to create. I'm going to go to upload video. All right. Again, the concept of streaming is a construct of reality. I'm going to hit that select files button. I'm going to go to what I did demos. And I'm going to say, okay, cool. Recording, screen recording on your Chromebook. Open. It'll take a second. Great. Screen recording on your Chromebook, etc., right? You will learn how to screen record on your Chromebook. All right, great. Now, just for kicks and giggles, it says upload thumbnail. All Clark County School District employees, you have access to the Adobe Creative Express, to the premium version of it. If you say, yeah, I want to go and create a YouTube graphic here. I'm just going to go custom size graphic right now. I can go and say social post. What do I want? I want a YouTube thumbnail. It's right there. I can click on it. This is something that all your students should be able to do as well. All right. You don't need to create anything from scratch because you got template after template after template over there. So I'm going to click that one just because it's weird. Put your materials there or whatever. I'm just gonna leave it like that. But like, we don't have to go. There doesn't have to be a long creative artistic process for you to build a thumbnail for your YouTube thing. So I'm just gonna use this right now. So I'm gonna download, keep it a PNG. Transparent is gonna say, hey, I don't want a background at all, so I'm gonna keep it solid. Great. I'm gonna put that not there. I'm gonna put that at demos and record. All right, bada bing. So I'm gonna come back here, thumbnail. My project, open. Bada bing. Now, the other thing that's necessary, what I would do, Webs, is setting up playlists. So this is math. Nope, always keep that. Nope, new playlist. Yes. New playlist. Math. I'm gonna make this unlisted for right now. Create. This is going to keep all your stuff nice and organized for you. So math, great, done. This is for kids. Absolutely, this is for children. It's going to keep that nice and private for you. Next. Don't care about the tags and all that kind of stuff like that. Now, subtitles, always a great thing to have. right now because if you had the script or there's a lot of other tools or whatever that are rock and roll, but YouTube will go and give you, when it's played live, there'll be subtitles on it anyway. So if you don't have the subtitles, ability to create subtitles, not a problem. Hit that next button. All right, cool. It's going to check it, say, hey, do you have any copyright issues? So please don't take anybody else's material and intersplice it with yours. Make sure your music is nice and clean, whatever. Next button. All right. And here's where we get to the streaming. Again, we're not using I use no tools whatsoever other than I recorded the screen, I recorded the video previously. If you want to use the webcam, by all means, you can use the webcam, but this is the piece de resistance, right? You can see where it says schedule. Click the schedule button. I'm going to schedule this for my math time for Monday. So, great. Monday the 31st. Awesome. I'm going to have this play at, say I do math at 9:15. Great. See where it says set as premiere? That's going to give it that extra sexiness. So I'm going to hit that set as premiere situation, right? All right. Give it a little sexiness. If you want to, kind of make it grandiose, make it an experience for your students, you can set up the premiere. All right. So that you can do a countdown before. Go ahead, Webs.
It's also a good so one of the things that we were just discussing this week was when you get invited to a Zoom meeting and they have the lobby set up or the waiting area, whatever, and it says like waiting for hosts to let you in, and you're like, do I have the right meeting? I don't know if I have the right meeting. Like at least it's a live meeting. And this is that sort of same indicator. By having a premiere set up, they at least know that there will be a video there and it will count down till whenever your class time is. So they'll know that they're in the right place. It'll give them a pretty good indication before class starts. And if there's nothing there, then they know, okay, well, I'm not in the right place. I don't have the right link. Let me reach out to the teacher and I can figure out what's wrong.
So the length is up to you. There's a classic theme. They're all kind of like really the cinematic I really like because it looks like a movie or whatever. Go ahead, Webs.
Pro tip though, if you want your class to start at 9:15, you have to set your
Premiere at
time
9:10.
that you want to the video to start to be plus premiere time. So if I want class to start at 9:15, I have to set my video to go live at 9:10 with a 5-minute countdown.
Absolutely. All right. So I'll hit that save button, and now it's going to say, look, it's a premiere. It's going to pop up or whatever. It gives us one of the things I really appreciate is when I see that timer go off, I know I have 5 minutes to go get my coffee or use the restroom or finish up whatever task I have before the thing pops off. The timers to me are super important. Webs, anything else?
So like this class would start at 9:20 because the video will go live at 9:15 and then there will be a 5-minute countdown. So the actual content will start at 9:20. Now that he's changed it to 9:10, the video will start at 9:10. There'll be a 5-minute countdown. The actual content will start at 9:15.
All right. And again, we didn't
I find that confusing. I don't know why they do it that way.
That's, yeah. I mean, you think they would be able to solve around that, but it is what it is.
Yeah.
But we have not used any streaming software right now. We've just used YouTube. Upload a video. Tell me what time I wanted to play. Set it as a premiere. Wonderful. Now, how do I get this into the discussion? I'm at that schedule button.
I'm going to guess we're going back to our friend the embed code.
Oh, but we're not because Canvas is really smart. And that's the thing that's really dope about how Canvas works. We don't need the embed code at all. So, see our YouTube link is right there. It's a live YouTube link. I'm just going to copy that video link. Go over to my discussion topic. All right, super dope. You see our friend right here? Our friend, the Canvas Studio. Canvas Studio is going to say, hey, yo, what's really hood? Okay, let's add a video. All right, we're going to paste that YouTube link right inside there. Add video. Bada bing! And we're good. That's all we got to do. Select. I don't want to put the media tabs in there because discussion is going to handle that for me. Embed. That video exists there without the fact that nothing's going to play until 9:15 tomorrow. So I have essentially scheduled this content. It's already set up. It's ready to go for my students. I can go through all the the different pieces of discussions that I like. I'm going to hit that save button. Bada bing, I got that nice piece of YouTube art there. I don't no embed codes, nothing. I'm good. It will play at 9:15 tomorrow. I can just tell a parent, look, go to discussions. Our discussions are there, and we're good to go. Students would be able to put their headphones on and watch that exactly at 9. Start at 9:10. Would start at 9:15, and I did not have to download anything. I did not have to change my Chromebooks capabilities. It was just go to YouTube, place the upload the video. The thumbnail really will help you in terms of giving your kids that nice visual sitting in their YouTube spot. Scheduling it, copying, paste it inside. God bless America. Webs.
Also, now all of your students have a front row seat to the lesson. We've eliminated that inequitable situation where you're sitting a laptop facing your whiteboard and trying to have your students that are online squint to see what's going on. If a student is sick, then they can, take the morning, rest, do whatever, and catch up with class later. If you have students that have had to travel because of family emergencies, I think about a couple years ago, my grandfather passed away. I had to go back to Michigan. The days were a lot of running around doing errands, making like funeral plans and things. So had I been a student in a classroom, it would have been much easier for me in the evening to catch up on what was going on, or on the weekends, or whatever. There would have been lots of other times for me to catch up with things that were more convenient for me than exactly when class time was happening.
And again, to Webb's point, this is a more equitable experience because I can catch it live, and everyone's live is the same live. And because it's recorded, I can catch it at any other live time in the future. And we didn't do anything no downloads, no I've got to get a brand
Special
new camera.
equipment. Nope.
You've got access to YouTube, you've got access to Canvas. This works on your Chromebook. Chromebooks they're not heavy duty machines, so you can record on your Chromebook, on the webcam, on the screen, or whatever. Upload that bad boy right to YouTube, set everything up, and you're good to go.
So that's going to be another question of equity. When you're trying to live stream a Google Meet, that's going to take up a lot of bandwidth. Trying to do all of those camera sessions, the video sessions that are coming through. For people that have very low bandwidth or don't have reliable internet, or maybe on a cell phone signal. So you're thinking about like your students who don't have homes or houses or whatever, students who may be very transient, like they now have the opportunity to stream it on whatever bandwidth works best for them and not have to worry about trying to catch and hear everything that's happening in a Google Meet. You don't have to worry about people coming off mute and being super loud. Like everyone can watch in their own time, in their own space with headphones on, and then come to you with questions later or discuss in the discussion.
That's the other thing. If I have a question, I don't have to disturb any of the entire class. If I have 17 questions, I can type all 17 questions here. And as the teacher, I can say, okay, I don't see that button on my computer. Wonderful. All right, cool. I can directly reply to Bozen and say, which type of Chromebook are you using? And we can
Another
have this.
reason this is important, if you have kids who have the same problem, now there's documentation that shows you how to fix that problem. You're not going back and revisiting it 1,000 times in a million different ways. It's already documented. They've already seen it and it could have already solved their problem. Kids
Absolutely.
get to be experts. If a kid knows how to solve the problem, they can jump in and solve. So you're delegating a lot of responsibility and empowering kids to be full participants in the classroom.
Which was the reason I asked you that question at the beginning. Does everyone have the right to ask questions from their vantage point? If they have that ability to do that, I can embed, you know what? I've seen another teacher do this. Here's a link to another YouTube video that might help you, Bob. Here's a resource. And like you said before, the power of archiving. The power of archiving is an equitable experience. If I don't archive a conversation, it didn't happen.
Also, if you want to build engaging multicultural experiences, this is that affective association and community cohesion. Because one of the aspects of community cohesion that I'll be talking about in the blog post is sharing resources, both social resources that are like just, little what do you call that? Pebbling. So
Yep.
pebbling is where like you find a cool article link or you find a cute YouTube video or a TikTok video and you just share it with someone because it makes you think of them or you think it's really cool. Um, Also resource sharing. So if you're talking about, for example, I'm taking an instructional design course right now, but we're talking about design in general. And one of the resources I really want to share with my class is a video about this new pasta called cascatelli and the process that the inventor went through to design it because it's not very often that you get new pastas that are designed, but that's a piece that's related to design and now I want to share it with my class. It's going to build community cohesion, it's going to build affective association. We're going to feel more connected because we're sharing those things.
Big facts. But also, it's less work for the teacher, right? I can kind of just chill and facilitate in a lot of ways where how much more empowering, as you said before, is it for me as the learner to say, I know about how this works. I can also contribute to how things run in this classroom. I can take this knowledge now and say I can integrate this into my existing skill set, and now you have 35 instructors in the classroom who are all going to be able to take this from a different perspective to empower the whole rather than all the information flowing from one adultish person who now has the responsibility to create all of the things. Also, this is why I also said a kind of very, very much in honed upon the idea of kids knowing how to create tutorials. I can take a kid's video and premiere it right through the channel the same way and say, Bob is doing our math lesson today. Bob has, I can walk them through how what the tutorials should look like, making sure the screen resolution is the right way, da 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 da. Bob gives him their 7-minute video. I upload it, premiere it, and now I didn't have to teach the math lesson because Bob did it for me. So super, super, super slick situation. If you want to be, and I'm gonna take another minute, Webs. You want to be like extra sexy with it, just because. Just Flipgrid the videos. I had a teacher who was like, "Oh, I don't know how to do the video." Look, Flipgrid is free, and I can go right up with the camera. My camera, my webcam is blocked all the time just because I like to have it blocked. But you can go and just do, if you want to do the slick, oh my goodness, it looks amazing or whatever. You can do a lot of really, really cool things, including screen recording through Flipgrid. You can add a backdrop. There's things to blur your background out and all that kind of stuff and whatnot. So, bada bing, I want
If
to be
you
under the street
have
web
a
apps.
mobile phone, you can do
Absolutely.
quite a bit on Flipgrid just with a mobile phone.
But download it,
We
do
used
what you
it
need to
for one
do.
of my classes last semester and it was super fun.
You can also say, I only want the mic. I do not want anything else. I'm going to record a video that is strictly a podcast type thing. I'm going to, here are your lessons for the day. Do this is the other thing, and you God bless you. All right. And that's the other powerful reason why discussions is where you do all the things, Webs, because it gives you the same power as all the other pages, but it does give you the ability to have that conversation with your learners, which the other pages do not give you the ability to do. All right.
I really liked what you said earlier about modules being for me, discussions being for dialogue.
That's kind of how I roll with it. It makes things a lot simpler because think about pre-internet or the internet in its infancy, or when you did all your students did not have devices in trying to field questions, right? Inequitable experience. You would have kids who wouldn't want to contribute their questions because maybe it's a question people are going to laugh at me about. Maybe I'm the only person that has this question. Whatever. If there's this conversational tone with it, all right, cool. Like you said before, this kid asked a question. Well, the kid who was very reticent in the back had that same question. Now that kid has their needs being met without having to raise their hand, et cetera, et cetera.
And it's not a case where you answer kid A's question once. If kid B doesn't catch it, then they're out of luck. It's they can go back and reference it over and over. it could be hours from then, and they're like, oh wait, how do we do that? Go back. I know that we had it in discussion. The number of times I've gone back through Slack to look for something that someone shared or said or whatever, because it's like, oh yeah, somebody shared that, let me go back and look for it. Or, oh, I know we have that saved somewhere. Like, one of our common practices is to create like an index document when we're starting with a new client that tracks all the information we need to know that's relevant, so that when someone new comes onto the team, it's very easy for them to catch up with where we are. We call that onboarding. And the same would be true of a classroom. Like, if you have a set place where, this is where the discussion is, I know I can reference back to it. It makes it a lot easier to go back and reference that information later.
Absolutely. And I think that is archiving is the thing we want to have as the default. Yeah, I just think about
It also really increases our capacity, like
big
the amount
facts,
of
big
information
facts.
that we can then, hold on to. All we have to do is bookmark. We have to have a reference to where it is, but we don't have to actually memorize or know the full answer to whatever that task is. Like, I can always go reference it later.
Yeah, which is something I failed to demonstrate. So this is the other reason why the discussions are super good. So this discussion is saved. All right. I'm gonna go to discussions here. You see here in the middle it says discussions. Oh,
Uh
didn't
huh.
want to do that. Hold on. Take that and move that back in the middle. All right, cool. Now I can say that's a pin discussion. That is something that's important that every kid is going to see. This is how to do your screen recording or whatever. All right, so I'm just going to go and unpin that, and I'm going to click inside there. So say kind of to Webb's point. This is a skill
It could
I think.
also be a Q&A kind of thing. Like, if you have a specific topic that you think the kids need support on, you could always make it a Q&A thing where they ask a bunch of questions about that topic. And then if you pin it, they always know where it is.
Yep, I take that. I pin it up there, and all the kids. This usually at Keller this last school year. All the discussions for the week would be pinned at the very top with the dates and whatnot, so the kids, whatever, those things would be there. And then I would take the ones that were finished for the week and place them back in the discussions, but making sure that you use some kind of naming convention so kids can go and navigate the space pretty easily. All right, cool. That's directly to the point. How to screen record on your Chromebook. I'm looking for the information. Great. Click on it. All the discussions for that is there. If you were able to say to a student, um, I missed these particular days, January 13th, 14th, 15th. If you use that date inside of the naming convention, they can go directly to the days that they missed and see exactly what they need to be familiar with, rather than having them try to go through the archive and figure out, okay, this was what I missed, or what I missed these particular dates. Same for parents. My kid is going to be out for this day, this day, this day. Great. No sweat, parent person. Those discussions are going to be tagged inside the discussion module. We can go back. The kid can look at those at whatever point. And you as parent can also go back and say, okay, these are the things I don't know how to screen record on the Chromebook, and I want to help my student out. Cool. The video's there, the conversation is there and everything, so that you also, because educating or helping your parents also come to certain realizations is also, I think, part of our job, because we want to have tech literacy isn't just for students, it is for everyone. I think Webbs, you would be also in support of that statement.
Yeah, I think unfortunately we've gotten by for a long time without having to have a certain level of tech literacy. And now we're seeing the problems in society with people who don't have a certain level of tech literacy.
Big facts, big facts. All right, so that's what we have. There is a Webbs shared a link up to the cart loom. So if you're interested in, there's 5 strategies for using your discussions that are, in my opinion, high yield strategies that are really going to be encourage your learners to participate and to own that space. As instructor person, you shouldn't be doing that much work, fam. With all the tools that you have at your hand, because there are going to be students who need your attention more than other students. This is a way to mitigate the students who are going to be able to walk themselves through down certain paths a lot easier. so that you can give your attention to students who really are going to need that attention. Anything else to add, Webs?
No, I agree.
All right. We will see you in 2 weeks. And then again, for our bi-weekly show, we're also going to be, if you haven't joined our newsletter, join our newsletter. We've got it's chock full of good stuff. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram and all those other wonderful places as well. And go ahead, Webs.
Oh, if you are not on a channel that got the message about the discussions strategies, you can go to shop.theintelligenthoodlums.com, and Canvas is one of the options on the left hand side of the store.
All right. So there's the other way to knock it out. We're about 10 minutes over, which is kind of par for us. And
Yeah.
so it is what it is. Just for kicks and giggles, that looks like this. Look inside. Oops. Is it one of the? Anyway, it's all kind of goodies and stuff that are there. And also that newsletter link is there. So if you look for discussions, I think. There we go. Canvas modules. Audiograms, that is a paid one, but these two, if you're not using Pomodoro types situations as well, it's another kind of high yield strategy. Those don't cost you free 99. Go forth, handle your business. All right. And I will have an intro and outro next week, Webs. Or next time we do this, I just kind of didn't think about it, but it is what it is. I got to do something snazzy for the intro and the outro and whatnot. But stay frosty, my friends. God bless America and all that wonderful stuff. And also, let the tech work for you. I'm telling teachers, exploit the technology, fam. Exploit it. It is there for us to be able to automate. And if you're not having the conversation, if you're a administrative type person and you're not looking to August 2022 as we have to change the way that we do things in our school in order to mitigate not having fully staffed classrooms. And if you're a teacher watching this and you have an administrator you think is not thinking about August 2022 right now, it is time to float that conversation through. Webbs and I are going to have some strategies for schools next school year that we can come in and kind of help you out with that as well. So that's something else to put in a bug in your administrator's ear. But we've got some things on tap that hopefully are going to help people out. All right. So God bless.
By the way, I'm taking this episode, last episode, the dope playlist, and the Canvas module thing, and I'm going to put it all in a blog post that will go up immediately after this.
Sounds good. God bless America. Have a great week. If you need something also available, if you're a Clark County School District teacher and you're like, hey, I just need someone to come through and give me, an hour worth of whatever, we can schedule that. I'm down for coming in your classroom and hanging out. I don't have my sub license, so you have to stay in the classroom, but you can get some other things done or whatever. I'm pretty open to that. All right, catch you later.